Hi everyone, it's Slangel here from Slangel Designs, and today we're going to take a look at the textured granny square pattern. Now, for best results with this pattern, you're going to see here I've got a few samples. I'm currently working on making about 80 of these in this color combination to make a blanket. You can see how if you've got this is 3 colors plus the white, so 4 total. It gives you a nice little definition in the pattern, and you can see it better. You can do it in a solid color, but some of the details of the pattern kind of get lost in the solid color just because you can't see where the changes in the pattern happen as well. What you could do is, if you were working on something and say you did these rows, the colored rows in the solid blue, and then just did the final 2 rows in the white, you could alternate a solid complementary color from one of the colors that you've got in your square. That might look pretty as well. But for today, what I'm going to show you, just because it's going to be the most common way people do it, I believe, and it just makes it easier to see the instructions, is I'm going to do one of the squares I'm working on and do the color changes for you, okay? So let me just set these aside. Now, so I'm going to be using a dark purple, kind of a plummish color, a dusty rose, and a white. And I'm just using worsted weight yarn and a 5.5 millimeter crochet hook. And I have a darning yarn needle and my scissors, because we're going to have to be changing the colors as we're going. And I do recommend you weave your edges in, your loose ends in as you're going every time you do a color change. So this is the back of what it looks like, and then this is the front. So there is a bit of a difference. So you're going to have a right side and a wrong side to your work, okay? Now, one thing I will kind of point out, the terms in the pattern and the description are all US terms, okay? You could make this bigger once you do rounds 5 and 6. Rounds 7 and 8 are what the border are. You could just repeat rounds 5 and 6 until you have it the size you want it, and then do your final 2 rounds, round 7 and 8, and make it bigger if you want. So one of the other things I want to kind of point out, this is what makes the texture, is you're going to be working and alternating front and back. And that's going to be a little more evident when we go through the tutorial here. But you can kind of see how there's like little pockets. That's because in some cases you're using the front loop of the stitches below or the back loops. And you'll see, and it's going to alternate front to back, front to back, front to back, just so you get that alternating kind of stacked 3D sort of look. So I'm going to start with my dark color. You choose whatever color you're going to do, but usually you start with your darker and work your way up to your lighter. And you're going to chain 4. And I'm going to, this tutorial I'm going to take a little longer than the other ones because it's a little more detailed, a little more complicated. I would classify this as a intermediate to advanced, but anybody who's even beginning, it's once you see, I think, where the stitch placement goes, you're like, ah, it's not a whole lot different than another granny square. You're gonna, and the stitches being used are single crochet, chain, and double crochet. Again, I will put the link to the other tutorials for those stitches in the description as well. So we're going to chain 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4. I am also going to put a downloadable PDF for free, and I will put the link to that as well. And there's just pictures from as we go along. All right, so we chain 4. We're now going to slip that together to make a small little ring. And again, I know these rings never usually look like a whole lot, but you've got enough room in there to do what you have to do next. So what I also try to do is take my little tail and tuck it in so that when I'm doing my next step, I'm kind of hiding it and I can kind of trim it off. And it'll be good and secure. So in that center hole from the ring we just made, we're going to put 8 single crochets. So you're not going to chain 1 or anything like that. You're just going to go right in yarn over and pull through, and see how I have that kind of tucked in underneath, and then yarn over and pull through. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Then you want to slip stitch to your starting chain. So sometimes what you have to do, just to be sure you've got the right one, is count backwards. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right here is 8. So we're going to slip stitch into that starting chain, single crochet. Now, because I had secured that image behind my other stitches, I'm just going to trim that off, and we're going to get that out of the way. So that's round 1. Round 2, you're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and that counts as your first double crochet. Okay, but then in that exact same space where you slip stitched and did your chain 3 up, you're going to put 4 more double crochets. 1, so yarn over, hook in, yarn over, pull the yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So 2 more. You're going to have a total of 5. So 4 double crochets and the chain 3, which counted as your first one. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now we're going to chain 2. We're going to skip. Sometimes it gets a little hidden because of the number of stitches you put in here. We're skipping this one. In this next one here, we're going to put 5 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Then you're going to chain 2 again. 1, 2, skip the next stitch and put 5 more double crochets in the next one. And this is the repeat till we get to the end there. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So that's our 5 double crochets. We're going to chain 2, skip the stitch, and in the next one do 5 more double crochets, and this is going to make our center deep colored part. 2, 3, 4, and 5. Then to finish off this row, we're going to do our chain 2, and we're going to slip stitch to the top of our first chain 3 and fasten off when you're changing your yarn. So cut your yarn, secure it with a slip and a pinch and a pull. Now we're going to want to weave that in. Even now, and for demonstration purposes, it's going to save me a bit of a headache if I do it even just quickly and get it out of the way because of where we're going to start and be stitching. All right, so that's after you have round 2 done. Okay, so you can see it's kind of nice and even. So now I'm going to grab my next color, which is the plummish color, mauvey plum color. So now what you're going to do for round 3 is you're going to join your second color into the 3rd double crochet loops. Okay, so when you're looking at your group of 5 double crochets, you're going to go right in the center, and you can attach that however way you like normally do yours. I just pull mine through and give it a little tie. Let me just pull out a bit more yarn. I'm using the big 1 pound balls, so sometimes you have to struggle with them a little bit to get some yarn off them. All right, so now we're gonna just do 1 single crochet there, and we're gonna go in and single crochet, chain 2, and single crochet in that same space, and that's gonna make one of the corners. Now here's where you need to kind of pay attention for the first, this is where you're gonna start working towards the front and back. So we're gonna chain 2, then those stitches we've skipped 2 rows below, okay? We're going to yarn over and put 2 double crochets in here, but you want to make sure you're putting them towards the front of the work. So I kind of fold down the back piece just so it's out of my way while I'm doing my stitches. So you can kind of see it ends up going in front. So then we're going to chain 2, which will get us to our next corner. In the corner, we're putting that into the 3rd of the 5 double crochets. We're going to single crochet, chain 2, and single crochet all in that 1 stitch. We're going to chain 2, then in here, that skip stitch below, we're going to yarn over to do a double crochet, put your hook in and bring it through, yarn over, pull your yarn up, do your double crochet, and put in another one, because there's 2 double crochets total going in there. And again, you can kind of see how that's in front of the previous row. We're going to chain 2. In that middle double crochet, we're going to single crochet, chain 2, single crochet, the next corner is made. We're going to chain 2 again. In the next stitch that we skipped in the in the 2nd row below, put our hook in, yarn over and pull through, do a double crochet and do that again. We're going to chain 2, and in our 3rd double crochet we're going to get our corner made by doing a single crochet, chain 2, single crochet, all in that same space. Now we're going to chain 2 again. We're going to do a double crochet down in that skipped stitch and the 2 rows below, bring it towards the front, and do another double crochet in the same space. We're going to be bringing ourselves back. We're going to chain 2. Then in the very first top of the single crochet, we're going to slip stitch. Now, in order to get ready for the next row, that chain 2 space in the corner, you're just going to put your hook in and slip stitch over to there to get you where you need to be for the next row. And that finishes round 3. Okay, so you can kind of see the first round of the lighter purple kind of makes a little bit of a pocket in a way because it's on the front of the work. Now, for round 4, as I said, you're going to slip stitch over to your corner. Okay, now chain 3 counts as your first double crochet. You're going to put 4 more double crochets in that corner chain 2 space. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So you should have 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which we do. Now you're going to chain 2. Then working in the chain 2 space of 2 rows below. So this was the last row. This is the row below. We're going to work in the back part. we're going to put 2 double crochets in that chain 2 space. So each color is going to have a front and then a back. Okay, so we're going to chain 2, brings us to our corner chain 2 space. We're going to put 5 double crochets in there. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So now we're going to chain 2, and then getting our dark purple chain 2 space from behind, we're going to put 2 double crochets in there. 1, 2, we're going to chain 2, brings us to our corner chain 2 space. We're going to put 5 double crochets in there. 1, 2, 3, 4. Sorry, my yarn caught in the thing. And 5. Stop shaking. There we go. So now chain 2 in this dark purple chain 2 spot below, below and behind. We're going to put 2 double crochets. Whoops. You're then going to chain 2 to get yourself over to the corner. 5 double crochets in that corner chain 2 space. 3, 4, and 5. We're going to chain 2, then 2 more double crochets 2 rows below into that chain 2 dark purple, chain 2. That brings us back to our start. So we're going to slip stitch to the top of that chain 3, pull through, and we're going to cut our yarn, make a little knot, pinch and pull. Then again, I'm going to weave this in to get it out of our way so it's not bothering. And you want to kind of get it in between some of those fibers so that it won't just slide right out and back and forth a couple times to get it good and secure. But in the stitches, so it's kind of hidden. I'll trim that one off. My scissors, my little scissors aren't the best anymore. They could either use a sharpener or I need some new ones. All right, let me just quickly get this one in here. There we go. That'll do. All right, so after that round, there's what that will look like. And you can see again, these are at the front, these are at the back. So I'm going to get my lighter color. And once again, for round 5, you're going to attach your new color in the same way we did before. You're going to look for that middle double crochet, attach it how you like to attach your yarn. You're going to chain 1 there. We're going to put a single crochet, chain 2, and a single crochet in there to make that first corner space, okay? I'm just going to pull some more yarn here so we're not Now we're going to chain 2, and then 2 rows below, because this is the previous row, second row below, in that chain 2 space, you're going to put 2 double crochets. So the very first row of this color is going to be in the front. You're going to be working in the front chain 2s. Okay? So then we're going to chain 2, put 2 double crochets in the next chain 2 space, 2 rows below. Chain 2. That's going to bring us to our corner. So you're going to go in the third double crochet, do your chain or your single crochet, chain 2, single crochet, all in that same space to make your corner. So you can see after this first side here, these are all at the very front. You still have the ones from the previous row in the back. So we're going to chain 2, double crochet in the next chain 2 space, 2 rows below. Chain 2, go into the next chain 2 space, 2 rows below, and do your 2 double crochets. Then you're going to chain 2 to get to your corner. You're going to find the middle double crochet, do your single crochet, chain 2, single crochet to make your corner. I know it looks like it kind of buckles. By the time you get to the end though, there is one row that's going to kind of attach and anchor everything, and that's coming up soon here. So we're going to chain 2, double crochet in that chain 2 space, 2 rows below, and you're doing that in the front. Then we're going to chain 2, do the same thing in the next chain 2 space, just slipped it all off my hook there. Get some more here. Chain 2, in that third double crochet, make your corner by doing a single crochet, chain 2, single crochet. Now we're going to chain 2 again, put our double crochet in that chain 2 space, 2 rows below, again working in the front. Do that again for your second double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochets in that next chain 2 space, that's 2 rows below at the front. Then we're going to chain 2, which brings us back to our beginning. We're going to slip stitch into the top of the first single crochet. Then to get ready for our next round, we're going to slip stitch just to get us to the corner space. So each color has 2 rounds. There's the round with your corners being the single crochet, chain 2, single crochet. Then the second round is where you get your 5 double crochets in the corners to get ready for the next round. So for this round, and I know some of the stuff you could be, I could be kind of fast forwarding a little bit, but if you're just learning it, it can be a bit complicated. So I figured I better show the whole thing. And if you need to watch the whole thing, great. If not, you can skip forward to the part you need. So we're going to chain 3 and put 4 more double crochets in that corner. So that we end up with 5 all together. 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1 more. 5. Get some more yarn here. All right. So now we're going to chain 2. You're going to do a 2 double crochets in the chain 2 space behind. So in the second row below, this is the one you just did, in the chain 2 space below that is behind that, you're going to put 2 double crochets. Chain 2. In the next chain 2 space, put another 2 double crochets. So again, as you can see, you worked in the front, now you're working in the back. There's always a front and a back. Chain 2. In that chain 2 corner space, put your 5 double crochets. Three, 4, and 5. So then we're going to keep doing the repeat. So we're going to chain 2, 2 double crochets in the chain 2 space, 2 rows below, which is behind the row you had done before. 1, 2, chain 2, and do the same thing in the next chain 2 space behind the previous row. Chain 2, we're over to doing our 5 double crochets in the corner. 2, 3, 4, and 5. So now we're going to chain 2. We're going back in with those double crochets in that chain 2 space behind the previous row that we had skipped before. Chain 2, same thing. In that chain 2 space, 2 double crochets. Chain 2, we're back to a corner, so we're going to put 5 double crochets in that chain 2 space. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Then we're going to do our chain 2, double crochet, 2 double crochets in that chain 2 space behind the previous row. Chain 2, two double crochets in the next chain 2 space. Then we're going to chain 2, and that brings us back to our start. So we're going to slip stitch into the top of the starting chain 3. We're going to pull through, cut our yarn, and then we're going to secure it with our needle and get it out of the way. So again, yeah, I will put a link to a downloadable PDF that also has some extra pictures and stuff in it, just in case you need some help along the way. And if you need any kind of clarification on any of the steps or whatever, just let me know and in the comment section, and I will do my best to clarify things for you. I think though, once you get your first square done and take your time doing it, the instructions become a lot clearer and it makes it easier. For me anyway, I found it once I managed to get through it and get one made, I was like, ah, I think I get it now. Because at first I was like, I was kind of scratching my head a little bit at the beginning. All right. So there is our square after we've gotten the first 3 colors done. Now we're going to start with our white. So hopefully you can see that okay on this. So now for the white, where before we were always attaching in the middle, the white, you're starting, this is the, if you want to make this bigger, you're going to repeat these two rows here, okay? The light pink, the round 5 and 6. For the white row, which is your border rows for 7 and 8, you're going to start and attach your yarn at the very beginning of the corner chain, or 5 double crochets. Then what you're going to do is you're going to do a chain. You're going to single crochet in the same space. and I'm trying to tuck my yarn in behind so it's secured. Then you're going to put another single crochet. We're now at the corner, we're at the middle one, so we're going to do our corner there, which is a single crochet, chain 2, single crochet in the same stitch. Where we normally would do the chain 2 to get over to the space, you're not going to be doing the chain 2s anymore. We're going to do a single crochet in each of the next 2 stitches. I'm going to trim this little straggler off. Then we're going to do our 2 double crochets, because the first row of the white, we're working in the front section. Okay, we're going to do our 2 double crochets in the chain 2 space, the 2 rows below. Now we're not chaining 2. These 2 double crochets that are in the back, we're going to do a single crochet in each one of those. This is where it's starting to anchor the rows together, okay? So now we're going to chain, or we're not chaining, we're going to do our 2 double crochets in the chain 2 space below at the front. We're not chaining 2, we're going to put a double crochet in each of the next 2 stitches at the top. 2 double crochets, chain 2 space below at the front, which brings us to the next set of 5 double crochets. You're going to single crochet in the first 2. Then you're at the middle, you're going to do your corner, which is a single crochet, chain 2, single crochet in each of the next 2. Pull its yarn here. We're going to go back in with the double crochets in the chain 2 space below at the front for 2 of those. We're going to do our 2 single crochets in the next 2 at the top, back in with the double crochets in the chain 2 below. So you can see how this is repeating. So I'm just going to keep on going until we get around, and I'll show you the final row, which will finish off the granny square. Granny squares are so versatile too. You can make so many things out of it. You can put them together to make like a tote bag. I've seen you can make a blanket out of it, a shawl, sweaters. Very functional. You can mix and match granny squares to do like a sampler blanket as well. Those are often pretty. And that's, someone had asked me one day in an email, when I do my tutorials, a lot of the times I tend to use a lot of blues and stuff. Well, here downstairs, one of our rooms, our big TV family room, is, the walls are blue. And we needed a new blanket for downstairs, so I figured what I'm going to be doing, if I have to make like little samples and stuff like that, and just to show you what things look like, and if I'm doing it on camera, I'm going to, all my little squares that I'm making, I'm saving them and I'm going to stitch them together just to make a sampler blanket. That way I'm not having a bunch of little swatches and samples just sitting in a corner that aren't going to be used for anything. So they're not going to go to waste. So that's why I'm using a lot of times the same colors, so I can put them together to make a blanket. So chain 2, single crochet in the corner. We're coming around our last side. The double crochets in the chain 2 below. Single crochets in the top of those next 2 stitches at the top. 2 double crochets. Then single crochet in the top. The next 2, to finish it off here, we're going to do our 2 double crochets below. Now, we're at the end. We're going to just slip stitch to the top of the first single crochet, and that finishes round 7. And you can see by putting the single crochets in the top here, you can kind of see that has anchored the pieces that are at the front to the back now. So they're not coming apart and making that little pocket like I showed you. So for the final round, we're going to chain 2 and then single crochet in the same space. We're just going to single crochet around in all the stitches, and when you get to that corner space, you're going to put your single crochet, chain 2, and single crochet in the corner space. And you're going to work your way across all single crochets. So if you are watching the video, just put a comment. I'd love, oh, sorry, I keep hitting that. I'd love to know where people are watching from. If you want to just leave a comment from your look, I don't need exact specifics, but if you're, I'm in Canada, so if you're in Canada, just, you know, whatever province you're in or whatever state you're in, if you're in the States or whatever country, I'd love to know. I'm just curious as to where this is being watched and who it's reaching. I think it would be interesting to know. So the corner, single crochet, chain 2, single crochet. Oh, I'm fighting with this yarn today. Okay, let's work our way across with the next. And I'm still finalizing. I know I have mentioned before about doing a crochet along, like a much larger project that's a little more detailed. I have an alphabet baby blanket that I'm writing up some more detailed instructions for, and I'll be breaking that up into like a series of videos. Like it's like maybe I'll do 10-20 rows per video and walk you through how, because there's not many complicated stitches in it, but that might be something fun to do. So I'm trying to get that figured out, the best way to present it and where to be a good idea to break it up on the videos and stuff. And for those of you who may be familiar with the application Discord, I have started one. There's only a few of us in it there currently, and I'm still setting up the channels and stuff, but I will put a link, an invite link to it if anybody's interested in it. It could be a place to share patterns and meet other people that are also into crocheting, share your projects, ask questions, maybe learn something new. Just a community of like-minded people that are interested in crocheting. And if there's enough interest too, like I do knit as well, I prefer crocheting. We can always have a knitting section or just a general cross, like I also do cross stitch. We could have just general crafting sections, just a place for people to get together and chat and share their stuff. So I'll put a link to that in the description as well. All right, coming up to the end here. Bit longer video today, so thank you for sticking with me, but I think it was important to take the time to show the full thing because it can be a little bit complicated. Then I'm going to slip stitch to the top of the first single crochet, cut my yarn, pull through and secure. Now we're at the end, so I'm not going to worry about stitching that in just this second. But this is what it looks like. So when you get there, you've got, and it flattens it out and things don't pucker anymore. All right, and again, there's the back. Still okay, but the front's the pretty part. So then you would be putting, you could either stitch these together with white, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose the plumish color and use the plum color to stitch mine all together, and then do a border with the plum, just so it's not so much white. Okay, so again, this is the textured granny square. Let me know if you make it, and I'd love to see your color combinations, because I'm one of these people that when I'm standing at the yarn section at Michael's, I'm like, what am I going to put the colors together? Like, what colors? And sometimes people show me a project and I'm like, oh my God, I never would have thought of putting those colors together, and that looks amazing. So anyway, you never know when you're someone else's inspiration. So anyway, that is the texture granny square. Again, any comments or clarification needed, let me know in the comments. And I hope that helps you out, and I hope you get to make a project with this. And thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time, and happy crocheting. Take care.